Have you ever felt frustrated because it seems like you are praying but not changing? You pray, you attend church, you listen to sermons, you watch Christian videos, yet somehow the same fears keep showing up, the same weaknesses keep resurfacing, the same spiritual battles keep repeating themselves. What if the reason some of your prayers seem powerless has nothing to do with God's willingness to answer? What if there are prayers heaven is waiting to hear from you, but you've spent years praying around them instead of praying them? And what if Satan hopes you never discover them? Because today I'm going to show you 3 prayers that the enemy fears, not because they're loud, not because they are aggressive, but because they contain the most fire, and not fire in the sense that you think. Because these prayers attack the 3 places Satan hides the best. He hides in what you refuse to see. He hides in what you trust more than God. And he hides in the purpose you keep postponing. And if these 3 areas change, your spiritual life changes drastically. Stay with me, because the 3rd prayer is probably the one most believers avoid the most, and is the one that may transform your walk with God the most. Before we continue, if your goal isn't just to know more about God, but to become closer to Him, subscribe and join this community now. Every week we dive deep into biblical truths designed to strengthen your prayer life and your spiritual growth. Now let's begin. Here is prayer number 1, and honestly it sounds too simple. Lord, show me what is wrong with me. Now, this doesn't sound like a dangerous prayer, but it is. And before you click away because it doesn't sound like what you expect to hear, be patient and hear me out. In fact, I believe this may be one of the most terrifying prayers in the Bible, because Satan's greatest hiding place is not around you. It is inside the blind spot you cannot see. Here's a quote I want you to remember. The enemy's safest hiding place is the place you never think to expect. Most believers spend years asking God to expose enemies. Very few ask God to expose themselves. But David did. And Psalm 139 says, "Search me, O God, and know my heart." Notice what he didn't say. He didn't say, "Search my enemies." He said, "Search me." That takes courage, because sometimes the biggest obstacle between you and your breakthrough isn't an attack. It is an attitude. It is a hidden fear. It's pride, bitterness. It's self-deception. And here is the shocking truth. The devil will rather you spend 10 years fighting demons than 10 minutes confronting the truth about yourself, because deception is one of its greatest weapons. Let me show you. Imagine being David. You are the king, the most powerful man in Israel. People respect you, honor you, fear you. Then one day, prophet walks into your palace, looks the king in the eye and says, "You are the man." Imagine that moment. The room gets silent. David could have become defensive. David could have justified himself. He could have blamed someone else. But instead, he broke. And from the brokenness came one of the most powerful prayers ever recorded. "Create in me a clean heart, O God." Now do you see it? The enemy wasn't afraid of David's crown. He was afraid of David's repentance, because repentance destroys deception. And whenever deception dies, spiritual growth begins. Here's another quote I want you to remember. The most dangerous Christian is not the one who never falls. It's the one who allows God to correct them when they do. Now let me say something that might surprise you. I know many of us grew up hearing prayers like, "Die by fire, die by thunder, die tonight, some assault and die." And listen carefully, spiritual warfare is real. Demons are real. Jesus cast out demons. The apostles confronted demons. The Bible is clear about that, but let's face reality. I know you want Satan and his demons to die tomorrow morning. But Satan and his demons are not dying anytime soon. The Bible teaches us that Satan remains active until God's appointed judgment. And here is what many believers miss. The New Testament spends much more time teaching believers on how to grow spiritually than casting out demons. Why? Because mature believers become difficult targets. That leads us to prayer number 2. Before I show you, I need you to answer this question. What would happen if God removes the things you rely on most? Your savings, your connection, your abilities, your reputation. Would your faith remain standing? Because prayer number 2 is this: Lord, remove everything I depend on more than you. Here's a quote worth writing down. Whatever you trust more than God quietly becomes your master. Most people think Satan's greatest weapon is temptation. I don't. I think one of his greatest weapons is self-reliance, because self-reliance feels safe, feels responsible, feels mature, but spiritually speaking, it can become deadly because you can slowly stop depending on God without even realizing it. You still attend church, still pray occasionally, still call yourself a Christian, but confidence gradually shifts from God to yourself. But that's dangerous. Jesus said, apart from me, you can do nothing. Not a little, not something, nothing. And here's a revelation. God's power flows freely through people who know they need Him. The people heaven uses most are often the people who feel the weakest. Think about Gideon. 32,000 soldiers. That's a respectable army. That's the kind of army that makes you feel secure. God says something shocking. Too many. Too many. But the enemy's army is huge. The battle is dangerous. Yet, God keeps reducing Gideon's army. 32,000 cut down to 10,000, then cut down to 300. Imagine how Gideon felt. Imagine him watching thousands of soldiers leaving while the enemy remains. It probably felt like weakness, but God was exposing something. The real problem wasn't Midian. The real problem was misplaced confidence. And maybe that's where you are right now. Maybe God is removing something you've been leaning on, and you are calling it loss, while heaven is calling it preparation. Here's another quote worth remembering. Sometimes God reduces your options so He can increase your dependence. The enemy hates dependent believers because what threat can he make against someone whose confidence is in God? What fear can he use? What leverage can he gain? The more dependent you become on God, the less negotiable your faith becomes. Now, personally, I don't think Satan's greatest weapon is temptation. I think it's distraction, because distracted Christians eventually become passive Christians, and passive Christians rarely discover why God put them on earth, which leads us to the third prayer. And this may be the prayer Satan fears the most. Prayer number 3. Lord, make me willing. Not just useful, not successful, not influential. Willing. Because usefulness begins with willingness. Purpose begins with willingness. Obedience begins with willingness. Satan fears a willing believer. And here's a quote. God rarely asks for your ability first. He asks for your availability. Many Christians spend years asking, Lord, what's my purpose? But purpose is often hidden behind a different question. Are you willing? That's the question Isaiah faced. Isaiah says God's glory. He says God's holiness. Then he hears God saying, whom shall I send? And who will go for us? Now notice something incredible. God doesn't start by discussing qualification. He starts by looking for willingness. Isaiah responds, here I am, send me. That simple response changed history. Now imagine the alternative. Imagine Isaiah saying, Lord, let me wait until I am completely comfortable. Lord, let me wait until I am until I have no fears. Lord, let me wait until everything makes sense. History would have been different. Here's what I've noticed. Many believers are waiting for certainty before obeying, but God often sends clarity after obedience, not before. And that simply redefines everything. Here's another quote. The greatest enemy's purpose is not failure, it is delay. Maybe God has been speaking to you. Maybe there is something He has been asking you to do. Conversation, a ministry, a step of faith, an act of obedience, and you've been postponing it, not because you don't love God, but because you are waiting for a perfect condition. Yet, Satan loves postponed obedience because postponed obedience often becomes permanent disobedience. And that's why willing believers are dangerous. The enemy isn't afraid of believers who merely collect information. He's afraid of believers who act on what they know. And here is something fascinating. Study consistently shows that people grow faster in their faith when they actively serve others. They practice what they learn. That shouldn't surprise us because spiritual growth was never designed to be passive. Faith grows through use. Prayer grows through practice. Courage grows through obedience. Purpose grows through actions. Now, notice what we've discovered. Satan hides in what you refuse to use. Prayer 1 exposes it. Lord, show me what is wrong with me. Satan hides in what you trust more than God. Prayer 2 destroys it. Lord, remove everything I depend on more than you. Satan hides in purpose you keep postponing. Prayer 3 attacks it. Lord, make me willing. Do you see the pattern? These prayers are not aimed at changing Satan. They're aimed at changing you. And that is the biggest revelation of this entire message. Because God's primary strategy against the kingdom of darkness has never been destroying Satan first. It is transforming believers. Think about that. None of these prayers ask God to change the devil. Every one of them asked God to change you. And that's exactly why the enemy fears them. And here's a final quote I want you to remember. The kingdom of darkness is not threatened by loud Christians. The kingdom of darkness is most threatened by transformed Christians. So, before you leave this video, I want you to do something. In the comments, write one prayer you are going to pray this week. Just one. Which one challenged you the most? Prayer 1, prayer 2, or prayer 3? Because transformation begins with honesty. And if this message helps you and edified you in any way, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to this channel now, and share it with someone you care about who you think needs spiritual strength today. Remember, the enemy fears these 3 prayer points not because they are dramatic. He fears them because they change the kind of person who prays them. And a transformed believer is one of the most powerful weapons in God's hands. And if you are serious about growing spiritually, I want you to watch the next video on your screen right now. Pray this prayer every morning before you touch your phone. Today's video showed you 3 prayers the enemy fears the most. That video will show you how to start every single day with God before the distractions in the world reaches you. Click it immediately after this video ends. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, let love guide you and not fear.